Chef Adrianne Calvo, a culinary force who built her career on bold flavors and even bolder risks.
I call that the lightning strike because it changed my path forever.
How old were you back then?
I was 16 years old.
From the suburbs of Miami, far from the spotlight, she turned a passion for food into a world-renowned culinary empire.
How do I write a cookbook? So I wrote down my recipes the right way. I did my own photography. My boyfriend, which is now my husband, did the cover. I'm like, oh gosh, this is terrible.
Wow. She's been called fearless, unapologetic, and relentless in her pursuit of excellence.
Everybody said I was nuts. Adrianne, but you're too young. You haven't even had restaurant experience. You graduated college. You haven't even gone to work at a restaurant. You don't know how to operate.
Hold on.
Yeah.
You opened a restaurant,
Yeah.
and you had never worked at a restaurant before. But behind the celebrity TV appearances, best-selling cookbooks, and packed dining rooms, there's a story of sacrifice, betrayal, and resilience. Well, you walked away from a $10 million a year restaurant, Adrianne.
I was making the money that I have never imagined making in my life. Yes, and I walked away from it.
Cookbook author and restaurant owner Adrianne Calvo.
Today, how Adrianne Calvo turned passion into perseverance, and why the greatest recipe for success has nothing to do with food.
People don't buy products. They buy from people. They buy your story.
So just hang on and keep going.
Adrianne, you have built what many consider an empire with cookbooks, with successful restaurants, with TV appearances, over 1 million followers on social media.
Yeah.
Is it true that this whole thing started by accident in high school?
Yes, I mean that's definitely a way to simplify it, but absolutely yes, that's how it started. I call that the lightning strike.
How did that happen? So tell me a story.
So I originally wanted, much like you, to be a journalist and tell stories. I wanted to tell everybody's stories, albeit good news, good heartwarming stories. I used to do the morning announcements in my school, so I was that newscaster and all that. And my junior year of high school, instead of going into the journalism class, they put me in a cooking class. And you had to wait 2 weeks for your schedule to be changed, and you had to wait for the counselors to fix it. So I'm sitting there, I'm all upset because within 2 weeks, your class is already, people are making friends, all that stuff is going ahead. And Johnson & Wales University comes in and does a demo within those 2 weeks. And I remember looking at what they were doing, and I was mesmerized. And the rest of the class was talking and fooling around. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is magic.
What do you mean by a demo? It's a cooking school that came into the high school?
Yes.
To show what you could learn with them.
Well, no, they came and I'm sorry, that's like a cooking term, a demo, a demonstration. Uh-huh. So they came in a counter there in the cooking class, because the cooking class was set up like a professional kitchen. So they came in and took over one of the stations, and they made this brioche stuffed French toast. I still remember cream cheese, strawberry, and it had cornflakes on the outside. And to me, it was alchemy. I was like, how did they take 2 average slices of bread, cream cheese, average ingredients, and made this beautiful dish that was drool-worthy? And right there, I call that the lightning strike because it changed my path forever.
How old were you back then?
I was 16 years old.
Now, how in the world do you write a cookbook? How old were you when you wrote the first cookbook?
Oh, I was 18.
18?
Yes, I was 18 years old.
But it takes a certain amount of discipline and drive to say, I'm 18 years old and I'm going to write a cookbook.
Yes.
How did that happen?
So when that moment of the lightning strike happened, I was on Florida Prepaid College. I was already doing English AP classes. I was on that track to have a state school scholarship in English and journalism. So when I switched and I wanted to go to this culinary school, that's very expensive, very. You can go to medical school for that amount of money. Wow. But, and those credits or that money doesn't transfer. State school to private school does not work out. So I had to earn money for college. So how did I do that? I had to compete. I had to do culinary competitions. And so I started winning these competitions. really funny because one by one, and each one I was super like surprised that I was winning. And at that time, do you remember molecular gastronomy, like hitting the scene, like the smoke and the powders and the science with food?
You would mostly leave hungry from any restaurant that did that.
Yeah, well, all my my co-competitors, that's what they were doing.
Okay.
And this was the peak of Ferran Adria, and Chef's Table had just come out, so that was all the rage. But I was cooking for what I fundamentally believe that people eat. Crave, like what they crave, what they spend all day daydreaming about, like making those dinner plans, or even if it's coming back to your grandmother's kitchen, whatever it is, but it's that craveable, that bliss point, homey, like something that's satisfying.
Okay.
So I was cooking like that, and that's all I ever knew. That's the only way I knew how to cook, and that the only way I connected food in my brain. That's what I wanted to create for other people. Mm-hmm. So as I was winning these competitions, one judge comes up to me, and this was already towards the tail end of like my competing run. And he goes, you need to make a cookbook of a collection of all these recipes, and you need to call it Maximum Flavor, because that's how you're winning. It's based on flavor. And this is Maximum Flavor. So for me, I was like, this is me. I love this. I had no idea how to write a book. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay, so what do I do? Where do I go? Like,
no ChatGPT.
No, nothing. Back then, this is like 2005 or so. Like 2003. Mm-hmm. You are not like going to Google to look up also, how do I write a cookbook? So I wrote down my recipes the right way. I did my own photography. My boyfriend, which is now my husband, did the cover. We went to Key Biscayne and did a whole cookout in Key Biscayne, and that was the cover of the book. No
way.
That's so funny. Yes.
That picture I've seen, which is a cover of the book, that's you guys. It's
that's
like,
it. Yeah.
No
With
production, no nothing.
No, my dad's camera. I'm like, oh gosh, this is terrible.
Wow.
Oh yeah. But Montel Williams, which was a TV host way back in that time, he was like, Oprah's like daytime competitor. They call me one day to the house because at that point, people still used phones. There was like not cell phones,
home phones,
which is my parents' house. And I get a call from a producer, and it's like, hey, we're the production team for Montel Williams, and we'd like to fly you out to his farewell show. He's retiring, and this is his last show, and he's celebrating the youngest people in each category. And apparently, you are the youngest cookbook author in America in present day.
And you didn't know this?
I didn't know this.
Wow.
So I think that's my best friend, Danny, pranking me. So I hang up the phone 3 times on the producers.
No, you didn't.
Oh, yeah. I hung up the phone, and they were like, ma'am, this is the last chance. If you don't want to be flown out next week to New York, it's okay, but we just need a formal no. And I'm like, oh, wait, hold on. It's not Danny? And I'm like, yes, I'm going. So at that point, me and my family were out there in New York City. First experience in like, somebody flies you out there, hotel, car rides, and then you're in a studio, live audience,
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
And this is you at 18.
Yes.
Oh my God.
And
out of the idea of just, okay, I got to publish my cookbook because I'm determined and these are my recipes. I want to be able to pay for college.
No, at this point, I'm already out of college.
Okay.
So now I'm competing through college and everything. So I started competing to earn money for college. Then I'm in college. I'm still competing to keep up money for college, because it's 2 years full, and you could go 4 years, So now I'm still competing. Now I'm finished with college, and now this is when I go to Montel Williams. The book was already released, so I was like 19 at this time.
Now suddenly realize that you're the youngest chef in America to ever publish a cookbook.
Yeah.
And how did that hit you as an 18-year-old?
Like surreal. I was like, okay, that's cool. Like, cool story, bro. But I didn't really believe it. I think that's kind of been like a theme woven into my whole life, my whole career. Whatever like achievement I've been able to, by the grace of God, acquire, it's always been like, okay, that's unbelievable. What's next? I can't believe I deserve this, or how did I get this? Let's make sure that we really earned it, or you always want to make sure that whatever you're doing or being praised for is valid. So I've never fully believed in all the hype.
Right. How do you, if there's a 20, 25-year-old listening or watching right now that is trying to validate an idea in this day and age is no longer, we're not in Kansas anymore. It's no longer 2003. What is a good way in your early 20s to validate an idea the way you did it when you were 18?
So I don't ever think that I validated my idea. I just took one step and allowed that one step to put me in the best position for the next step. And I think it wasn't validating the idea. It was having the confidence to just take that one next step and keep going. It's that idea to keep going. I think most successful ideas out there now in present day were once probably thought of as crazy. So to think that, I think it would be short-sighted to tell anybody like, no, this is crazy or not crazy. I think it has to be within you. And I think that's for any time, whether it was back then, now, or in the future. If you yourself are you have that conviction, I think that's good enough for you to find that perseverance. Because without that conviction, you will not have the stamina and the grit that is needed to make sure your dreams come true. The crazy, that's an opinion. Yeah. They
say people will call you crazy until you're successful.
Exactly.
With the crazy, right?
Yes.
And then suddenly in your very early 20s, about 22, you use some of the money or maybe most of the money that you got from the cookbook to do what?
So wait, because we got to go back to the Montel Williams show.
Please.
So now I'm live studio audience, and this is the first time in my life that I had been on a couple of live shows local, but I had never been in front of a studio audience, and I had to do a recipe from the cookbook. And we're all set up, and I had chosen this beautiful sea scallop recipe, and they had it all set up for me. And right before, now I'm on set and they're counting down as they do, on TV. And they're like, 30 seconds to air. Remember, he doesn't even want to be around these scallops. Montel Williams hates sea scallops. And I want to die. And I'm like, what? I chose the worst recipe possible for, that the host is not going to like. So now I'm so nervous that as I'm making the recipe on the air, you see my hand shaking because I couldn't get it out of my head that he doesn't like scallops. But I'm like, focus, Adri, please focus, whatever. He actually goes and tries the scallop and holds my book in the air, goes in for it a second time. And I'm going, what's happening? And I just go dark. I go black here and because I couldn't see out of my nerves, And he goes, everyone has to go and buy this book because this young lady right here has made me love scallops now. And he was 45 at the time. And he goes on to explain, when somebody is able to change what you've hated for 45 years based on a recipe, you have to buy this book.
Oh my God.
And that's how I sold so many copies of my first book.
Unbelievable.
Yes. And then I opened my first restaurant.
Wow. I'm glad the guy didn't have an allergy issue.
Right. He just didn't like it. Exactly.
Wow. So it was, a big hit, smash success. You start making money off of the book.
Right.
And then what makes you decide to open a restaurant? Because I've heard even when you are passionate about cooking, when you're a chef, when you've been trained, I've heard it's one of the scariest decisions you can ever make.
So I think that being 22, I was naive at the time. I took an unorthodox path to it. So at that age, I had just lost my sister to a rare cancer. I didn't have a normal job. I was a receptionist at the time at my mother's beauty shop, and I was passing by and I was like, I didn't want to cook anymore because she couldn't eat. She had a rare tongue cancer. So my love for food kind of dissipated, completely evaporated.
How old was your sister when she passed?
She was 19.
She was 19 and you were
20.
You were 20, so you were only basically a year apart.
Exactly.
Wow. And did she, from when she was diagnosed until she passed, was that a long struggle? Was it years? Was it months?
It was about a year and a half.
Okay.
So short time, really felt like an eternity.
And of course, and how did you navigate that while you were growing your career? I mean, because it sounds like at the same time you were dealing with what was happening to your sister, and you were like pushing your career to the next level.
Well, there was a period where that's when I was the receptionist at the beauty shop, where I wanted to drop it altogether because I fell out of love with food. If she couldn't eat, or savor food or be part of it, I didn't want it anymore. So the cookbook didn't matter. Nothing mattered. And I wanted to go into a different path altogether. But one day I'm sitting answering the phone calls for the appointments, and I'm looking through a little magazine that I don't even know if it goes around. It's called The Flyer.
Okay.
And
I think it still goes around.
Really?
I think the Flyer's still around,
Oh.
at least in South Florida. I think.
Okay. Wow. So I'm just flipping there because I'm just passing time, and it said there's a restaurant for sale, like fully for sale, second generation, everything included. And I recognized that the address was right around my parents' home where I lived. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like 5 minutes away from here. And this is in the hammocks in Miami. So I'm like, okay, well, I had saved all my money from the cookbook sales and I had no motivation to do anything else with it. So I did what everybody says, like the belief of like, don't put all your eggs in one basket. But I was like, okay, why not? What do I have to lose? I'm young. If I lose it at that point, then I never had this money to begin with. I never thought I would, like with the book, I thought I was going to sell 10 copies and call it a day, So I'm like, all right, let's take a risk and let's do it. So within a week, I was already doing a walkthrough. I told my parents, I'm like, hey, I think I'm going to get a restaurant. Everybody said I was nuts. Adrianne, but you're too young. You haven't even had restaurant experience. You graduated college. You haven't even gone to work at a restaurant. You don't know how to operate.
Hold on.
Yeah.
You opened a restaurant.
Yeah.
And you had never worked at a restaurant before. A lot of people talk themselves out of their own potential. They'll say things like it's not the right time, or I don't know enough to start a business. But what if the thing you're looking for is already tested and waiting for someone like you? Univista Insurance is one of the fastest growing franchise models in the US, with over 260 locations and a reputation for helping people build lasting businesses. This isn't guesswork. You get a proven business model, access to top-rated insurance carriers, and full support from day one: marketing, operations, even compliance. You can do this and you'll get the support you need in every step of the journey. I've worked with Univista and Ivan Herrera, the president, for years. I've seen this company and this model change lives. So go to univistafranchise.com for the full story and an info packet. And if that little voice inside says maybe, head now to univistafranchise.com and let that maybe turn into real momentum for your entrepreneurial journey.
Well, I did my internship in college at the Mandarin Oriental, an internship.
Well, that's an internship. That's not a restaurant job.
No, right. Yeah. No, I have never worked at another restaurant. I've never had any experience anywhere else. No.
But that's crazy.
I know.
That's absolutely crazy. There's no way I would have ever imagined that you opened this restaurant. You've been in business for 18 years now.
Yeah.
And you had never operated a restaurant before.
No, that's why I know the hand of God has always been in my life, good or bad. Like in any situation, has always been guiding me and given me strength to go to that next step.
But what does that tell the 20 or 22-year-old watching now?
That you have to believe in yourself, have an enormous amount of faith, and be willing to put in 300% effort. One thing, I'm surmising the story, but there was a long stretch of sleepless nights where after, I had to learn through the School of Hard Knocks how to operate, how to manage a team, how do you hire people that are much older than you, how do they respect you when you're 22, when you're leading a team of basically all men in a kitchen, because women aren't really trying to be in a restaurant kitchen. That's really the truth. It still is kind of to this day.
Is that still a problem for you 18 years later? Do you still get employees that don't feel 100% comfortable about a woman telling a man what to do?
100%. It's still to this day. And my executive chef is a woman too. And when she's hiring men that are much older or even younger, they treat her by the wayside sometimes. And so it's important for us to build a strong, like a core team that it's mutual respect to each other. But yeah, it's still an issue to this day. Absolutely.
So you're 22, you're trying to earn the respect of employees, of vendors, I'm sure.
Exactly.
By the way, one of the things that I've always been terrified about the restaurant business, to which I never been part of, and I don't necessarily think I will be part of, but you never say never, right?
Right, yeah.
But I was always terrified at the idea of people stealing from you.
So
Is that a real concern?
very real. And I never had anybody steal from me for 13 years until I opened my new restaurant, and somebody stole right under my eyes $150,000 worth of gift card funds. Yeah.
No way.
Oh yeah. But that was
$150,000
That's
of gift cards stolen from
Oh
you.
yeah. It was an entire operation from a bad manager that we had, who, if you were, let's say you're the customer and you decided to pay cash that night, they would pocket the cash, and then the server would ring into our system a gift card ID number. So I would think at the end of the night that gift cards came in, but they were pocketing the cash from the customers. Yes. So then when the gift card indeed came in, that card was being like, oh no, this card was used. So when that started happening repeatedly, we're like, hey, something's wrong, because all these gift cards, all these people can't be trying to scam us. These gift cards are coming back like they've been used. And it turned out that it was a manager with a cell of servers that were all in on it, pocketing cash and ringing it in as gift cards. At the end of the year, it turned out to be, at least that we could account for, a hard $150,000 stolen.
How did you manage that? What happened? I mean,
We absorbed it. Obviously we had to let go of all those people. I didn't press charges, and right now, we have security systems in place that, I would have never thought I would have had to, because in my first restaurant, I never operated that way. My team was we were a team of 12 to 14 people that were together for 13 years, same group, they were family. So never thought of that.
Okay. Now, let me get into this for a second, because as an entrepreneur, it's so hard just to earn your money. I mean,
Yeah.
we've had, I remember Aaron Spivak, we had him here on the show recently. He was explaining, he sold his company for almost $50 million. I mean, he did very well, but he defined business as war in a good way. Not that you're fighting all the time, but he's like, we're at war because somebody else will be there trying to make sure that we don't make as much money as we should make. So how does someone who realizes that there's a group of employees that literally steals $150,000 from her, does not press charges?
Well, number one, I was like, these are all under probably 26 or 27 years old. So very young people that I did not want to ruin their life. And this was not one single person, 150,000. This was cumulative over a course of a year. So I was like, do I want to spend my time in court pressing charges, ruining their lives, instead of telling them, hey, I know what you did. You have to leave. Don't do this again somewhere else, because I'm choosing not to press charges. Somebody else will. And I always figure that my rule of thumb is, my belief personally is, if God forgave us, we should forgive others. So I chose to forgive, even though very hard, very hard. And then that's it. Let it go. Don't let it eat up any more of my energy. Because if I focus on that will be my whole day. My whole day will be talking to cops, detectives, this or that. And then I can't focus on what grows my career and actually, fulfills me.
Okay. Let's talk for a moment about forgiveness. And I want to go back to the time in which you opened your restaurant for the first time. You just told me that your sister was suffering a lot and that she couldn't eat. And you had developed this kind of tense relationship with food when you realized that she wasn't able to enjoy the things that you could possibly make for her.
Right.
And you decided to open this restaurant, and I'm counting here that was probably very close to when she passed.
Right.
Did you have to forgive yourself from the concept and from your relationship with food, from what your sister went through, and in order to take that step forward? What was the significance of your sister's memory, and what did she mean to you the day you were cutting that ribbon and opening the restaurant for the first time?
Well, I don't I don't think it had to do with the relationship with food as much as her thing, which is the name of my foundation now, was make it count. Whatever you do, however big or small, just make it count. And, you know, even to her last days, she would cut out a piece of paper and paste it on the refrigerator for my parents to see it. And it was make it count. There it was. If you went upstairs and you went to their room, she would have a thing that said make it count. So that became very much how I live. And I'm like, well, I'm going to make it count. So here we go. Let's do it. And I'm like, if I'm going to be a chef, I'm going to be the best chef I can possibly be. And if I'm going to open a restaurant, I'm going to open the best one. Even if it's not in a dream location, it's going to be the best one I can open where I can open it, you know? And that was just kind of the motivation.
Your sister, you know, has played this role. Obviously, you know, she was your sister, but also she made you do a lot of things, you know, in her honor.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been involved with St. Jude forever. That's how you and I met
yes, that's
years
how we met.
ago.
Yes.
You've, you know, auctioned items. You've done events for them. I mean, you've done so much. You know, cook, you know, a Cuban feast every year.
I'm their culinary ambassador now.
Imagine that. You're the culinary ambassador for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. It's unbelievable.
Thank you.
And I'm only wondering if you've ever imagined your sister sitting at your restaurant. Have you ever thought about what her reaction would be based off of all the things that you have accomplished, but based off of just the idea that you're a restaurant owner and that you have made so many people happy? If what you just heard sparked something inside, don't let it slip away. Tap subscribe so every next episode lands in your feed like a new possibility. I'm super committed to leveling up the show for you. So a quick subscribe and we keep going higher together.
She was my biggest cheerleader. So I think she would be, I've never thought of it like that because it was always post. Like everything that I've achieved has kind of happened after the fact. So I've never imagined in all these years combined, like her in it, you know. I know it's been because of her, a large part of it, but not her in it. But that's a beautiful thought, you know. I remember one year I was going to a show in New York, and I had recently launched my cookbook, and she couldn't go already. She was already sick at the time, and she wrote me a letter, and she was like that, little details everywhere. So she wrote me this bad handwriting, long letter that said all the things that I would achieve, you know. And it's funny because now I kind of have. You know, and that was way before I had done pretty much anything.
So you have achieved a lot of the things that she put in that letter.
That letter, yeah.
That's just unbelievable. The reason why I asked that is because I lost my mom to cancer.
I'm sorry.
And yeah, many years ago.
Yeah.
And you know, as my life has moved forward, her memory is always there, obviously. But I sometimes just try to imagine, you know, what her relationship with my daughter would have been. You know what I mean? Like we try to keep her present in different ways.
Yes.
I mean, in a way that has allows us to live and that doesn't make us sad every time.
Right.
But what I'm saying is that I think that sometimes we do things inspired by the memory of somebody that we have lost.
Yeah.
And they kind of like become present in our lives in different ways. Right?
Absolutely. I think that's absolutely true. I know that there's so many things that I know that I wouldn't have neither the endurance nor the energy nor the stamina to endure or like to go through if I didn't have her as an example in my life to have seen what she went through. And still went through it with such a great attitude and everything, and still trying to calm everybody down around. I'm like, oh wow, like no, you know, I'm like, I'm trash compared. Yeah, but that's been kind of like my North Star.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people that start businesses, you know, the fear makes us build excuses. You know, it's like, okay, you know what, but this is too expensive, or this requires too much money, or this requires this and that. And I know that one of the things that a lot of people kind of like warned you about was the thing about the location of the restaurant. It's like in Miami, if you think about the location, I mean, people watching us anywhere else that's not Miami, it is far. Like for a lot of us.
Yeah.
I live in Aventura. It would literally take me a good 50 minutes to get to your restaurant.
Absolutely.
No traffic.
Right.
Right. And I know that a lot of people warned you about that and thought that maybe your restaurant would not be successful because it was just poorly located. What does that say about excuses 18 years later?
So that was one of the biggest hurdles to cross, was the location. And I don't know if they still say this now, but it was always location, location, location. 8 out of 10 restaurants closed. So if you already failed at the location, consider yourself closed, right? So I always believe that if you do a good product, good food, people will travel for good food, period. So it doesn't matter. And if you do this consistently, then you will build a community, you know? So again, this is 22-year-old math. There's so many other variables there, but that's the simple version. But they did. And to add insult to injury, back then, because you didn't have social media, you had to wait for the newspaper to write about you in the Thursday section called Tropical Life. And that's how people found out about restaurants opening. What's new? Where am I going this weekend? So we waited till we were about 6 weeks open, and we're like, oh my God, they're going to cover us, right? And then New Times as well. It's another newspaper in Miami to cover us. And simultaneously, back to back, both outlets make fun of me. 22-year-old chef thinks that she could make it in the boondocks of Miami, where people will need a passport stamped just to go there. Next to a trash, because we had our trash bin out front on the side, not in the front, on the side. Next to a tire shop. We had a Goodyear next to us. There was nothing around. There was no bars, no movie theaters. It was literally in the middle of houses, a little shopping strip, and there's houses all around us, and a soccer park. That's it. So you can't even go get a drink after dinner. You're not going to go see a movie.
This is a newspaper review?
Both. Yes.
No way.
And a picture of me, because they had come in, they had sent a photographer, and I'm holding one of my dishes at the time, smiling ear to ear because I'm so happy. I'm like, oh my God, they're going to let the people know we're open.
And they're talking all this trash about you?
Yes. And they're like, good luck. Although we don't know if we'll have time to visit. You know, by the time you read this, she might have closed. I was like, oh my gosh, really?
Did you ever reach out to these journalists?
I did.
What did you tell them? I'm dying to know. That I want to know.
So the Herald, they did good after they covered us again, and they really helped us out. But there was a food critic at the time, which I won't say his name, but he was an infamous food critic at the New Times. So I wrote to him privately, and I told him my story, and I said, Mr. So-and-so, while this is fun, like I guess this type of writing, I guess, gets attention, but this is everything that I have here on the line. And just to get to this moment, you don't know how hard it was for me. So to close the doors on me before I even get a chance to, like, I guess, fail for myself, you're really, instead, I thought that the newspaper, the media of your town was supposed to help you, cheer you on, like, you know, and you didn't even come in to eat. Like, it's not like it wasn't based on an experience. So then he goes and takes a screenshot of that message and puts it in the next Thursday's paper.
No.
So we had 3 weeks of back and forth, and until I gave up. And he goes, this is how a child handles it. They can't even handle a little sarcasm. And I'm like, yeah.
No.
Oh,
So
yeah.
he kept fighting with you through the newspaper.
Yes.
Publicly.
Yes.
What's
exactly.
wrong with this
and
guy?
I was mortified because I was like, how does this happen? And again, how do you, this young, deal with this with your own family, then saying, you see, this is why 22-year-olds don't open restaurants. Yeah. And the concept was a California farm-to-table restaurant that at that time, no one heard about it. Mm-hmm. Nobody in our community wanted any farm-to-table, nothing. They wanted rice, beans, and, you know.
Right. All the Latin stuff.
Yes, exactly. So,
Wow.
Oh yeah. So that's it. So I'm like, okay, put your head down and work. Because the only way would be the proof is in the pudding.
Right. And what does that say about how to deal with the opinion of others?
You take the other, to say others' opinions don't matter is not true. Because they do matter, and they affect us, and they can affect businesses, right? But you have to take them with a grain of salt for real. Like, you take them, you assess them, and you're like, is there any truth? Okay, there's no truth. So what do I do when there's no truth? What do I do with that? Do I use it to fuel me? Do I use it to destroy me? Do I use it to maybe fix something and improve? So you have to be able to, like, filter through it and use it always, no matter what, constructively. That's my opinion.
And there was a moment in which you decided to expand.
Yes.
And the expansion was an expansion of problems.
Oh my gosh, where do I begin? Like in which expansion do you want to
I'm talking about the one right before the pandemic.
Okay, so it's New Year's Eve. It's January 2019. I mean, December 2019. And I'm knee deep in doing steaks for New Year's Eve. And I have a server comes in right to my hotline and goes, Chef, my brother, he works at Devon. This was the name of the chain restaurant that was there in the spot. He goes, they're looting. They're taking things out of the fridge, the liquor, everything. And I'm like, what's happening? And he goes, they closed. They left everybody with their New Year's reservations and everything. And I was like, Devon closed? There's such a beautiful location. And if you can imagine, it's a 270-seater with 6 private rooms, lakefront, beautiful side-to-side terrace, right off of the expressway, so easy access, but still in Kendall, so still in my community. And I had grown up going to that mall, Town and Country Mall. So for some reason, when he said that to me, I wasn't thinking of what was going on at that restaurant. I was thinking, like, same as the lightning strike in high school. It was like my second lightning strike. I'm like, that's going to be mine. That's going to be Chef Adrianne's part 2. So right there, New Year's Eve, I call my realtor and my commercial realtor, and I'm like, hey, Sharon, sorry, Happy New Year's, but
by the way,
this place, you think you can get on it before it goes to market? And she's like, Adrianne, that's for big box stores, but sure, I'll find out.
Big box meaning that's for like chains. Like chains are going to be looking for it, like a Chili's or an Applebee's or something
Correct.
like that. Okay.
Yeah, and that's all that had been there previously since the beginning of time that the mall was there. So through about a month's worth of negotiations, I was like, please ask them. This is the largest commercial real estate company in the entire United States. They do malls all over, side to side. And I'm like, please tell them my story and tell them I have a community that I built in specifically where that store is at, and that I will die trying to make it work. Like that's, I'm not going to fail. If that fails, that means that I failed. Like I'm not in this world anymore. And I can make delicious food, and they were convinced. They gave me a shot. And I remember signing the papers February 14th, Valentine's Day. And I worked out the last days of my lease in my old restaurant. And then we find out, we get news, the pandemic, this or that. But March 20th, all restaurants shut down. And now I'm holding a $40,000 a month payment on a new space. And I'm like, where is the restaurant industry going? Yeah.
$40,000 monthly lease, brand new.
Yeah.
And you had to shut down because every single restaurant had to shut down.
Right.
Without even knowing when you were going to be able to reopen.
Correct.
How do you make it through?
Well, again, the grace of God, and we did so well through the pandemic, surprisingly, but it was we ended up opening our doors because we kind of redid the inside in August of 2020. So we weathered all that like craziness of being fully shut down. We started to do to-go slowly. Then we did only outside seating, like most restaurants. But it was, every day was like swallow hard, learn how to breathe, just take one day at a time, take one step at a time, because that's all you could do. There was no one I could ask for help because no one in my lifetime, lived through a pandemic. And definitely not lived
There's
through
no pandemic advisors going on.
Exactly. And there's none that you could get advice from of like, hey, when you open a new business, in a pandemic, what do you do? Yeah. So I was just like, okay, let's just go with it.
Wow. Unbelievable. I remember our daughter's school had a brand new building and they did the grand opening and then they opened for 3 days and then they shut down right in the middle of it. It's like, and everybody went through Zoom, etc. But it's different. You can still keep a school going with Zoom.
With Zoom.
What do you do with a restaurant?
Right.
Wow.
Yes.
After going through so much and after, years in the business and after all these books and after being on TV and having 1 million followers on social media, are you still affected by a bad review of your restaurant?
Absolutely. I read every single review. And I'll read it over and over because I try to capture tones. What years have given me is the experience to know where they're coming from. Like I already know when it's somebody that wants to get attention or get something for free, or they didn't get something exactly their way, and then they want to cause noise. And I know there's some that they didn't even go to the restaurant. They just hate you for whatever reason, and they're putting bad reviews, right? But there are some where your team just slips up and you do have to improve. And I know when that happens. So it does affect me. I do read all of them, but mostly I use them as a guide to know where we need to improve, what we need to pay attention to. What's the messaging? I know that when I opened I thought that Miami was going to be rooting for me, because when I was in my small space, everybody would say, when are you going to expand? When are you going to get the liquor license? Because that space didn't allow me to serve hard liquor because of the way the parking was configured and the area. So I'm like, soon. It took me 13 years to be able to even like muster the courage to think I could take that leap. And I thought I was doing that for my people, for my following, so they could have a larger, beautiful space and all that. But once I did it, it was the opposite. It was like, oh, once you grow, you lose everything. And I'm like, what? It's like, oh, she should have never left her kitchen over there. It was the opposite. Of course, I've had my core, hardcore, like loyal fans that really have, cheered for me. But so much of the reviews were like, it doesn't taste the same. And I was buying the exact same product, cooked in this exact same way with the exact same equipment, and my core team was the same. So the same people that were cooking your food over there were cooking your food here. But it was the perception of if it's bigger, it's diluted.
It's more corporate, this or that.
Exactly. And it was not that at all. It's not that.
Unbelievable. Take me now to the moment in which you get into a partnership to run another restaurant that became a multi-million-dollar deal for you, like became, a high billing situation and didn't work out.
So sometimes I truly believe that life gives you these like journeys micro journeys that you go on to teach you things, and they're not all bad or all good. And they definitely run their course, and it's not necessarily bad that it's over, but it's over. So imagine that one day I'm on Facebook and I get a DM from a gentleman, just like a direct message that says, hey, I have this restaurant, Redfish in Matheson Hammock. I'm sure you've heard of it. Do you want a restaurant? Do you want to run this? I love your food. So if we can do this style food, do you want it? And I was like, this can't be real. Again, the same thing. This can't be real.
This is a very well-known restaurant in a beautiful park,
yes.
right? And
yes.
In the South Miami, basically, in the Coral Gables area, pretty
Correct.
much.
Yes.
And it's been there forever.
Yes.
I've been to like events, like weddings, and on Bautizos, everything. Yeah.
So
Baptisms.
I'm like, oh my gosh, absolutely yes. The answer is yes. So I know that the way that you negotiate a contract for like this, I've never done partners. I've never had a partner. I've never had an investor. I've never had any of that. So I consult my attorney, and my attorney goes, the only way that works, because you're used to doing this your way for so long, and your customer base is used to your food your way for so long, is if you have full autonomy in your contract. So I get full autonomy on my contract, because this partner was like, I don't want anything to do with the restaurant. I'm just handling the beautification of the whole park. But the caveat with the city was that I had to take on the restaurant. But I'm not a restaurateur. So I'm like, oh, that's perfect, because he stays.
Sounded like a good deal.
Perfect. He stays in his lane. I stay in my lane, and we make an epic restaurant. And it was $10 million plus in its first year of operating.
$10 million revenue in this brand new restaurant for you.
Yeah. In its first year. For restaurants to even make that, it takes at least the runway. I mean, you have to be a mega restaurateur to make that in like 3 to 4 years if you're already successful out the gate.
And then what happened?
So what happens in a lot of partnerships, that it's never enough, because even when you're good, it's never enough, right? So then they want to change your style, or like, well, I've never compromised on products ever. So my restaurants have always been on the more expensive side, because I wholeheartedly believe in that you have to have things without chemicals, without pesticides. And that's because of everything that I went through with my sister. So that's kind of like my thing. Like, I don't buy trash, because
you see how your sister's always present.
Right. But if you're a restaurateur, what happens is that, not a restaurant, like, you're a money guy. Mm-hmm. You're like, wait, why are you buying wild caught fish when you can buy fish from here for a third of the price. And I'm like, oh no. Because I'm going to put this toxic like a toxic bomb to my customers, and I'm never going to do that. So no. And our margins were great and everything, but this is where they're like, well, yeah, our margins are great, but they could be better, you know? And so then I decided to walk away before it became too much. And I'm like, I will always be what I set out to do. I can only get better, but I can't retract, you know? And that's my promise to my customers who've believed in me from the beginning is if it's fish, if it's beef, if it's vegetables, it's going to be the best that I can possibly source. And so, yeah, now I'm back to no partners, no investors, but it's my promise to my guests.
Where does ambition end, in your opinion? I mean, where's the limit to ambition? Because this is a great story about ambition.
Oof.
Because we all ambitious? Like we all want more. We all want more money.
God.
You know, how do you set the limit? Because it sounds like, at least for you, in your view, you did a good job in drawing that line and saying, this is where ambition ends. But there's maybe somebody watching or listening right now who's just trying to make as much money as possible selling insurance or trying to make as much money as possible selling microphones, whatever it is. So how do you find the moment in which your being, your essence isn't compromised by ambition?
When you get to that crossroads where you have to question either your integrity, your morals, any of that. Once then it's time to walk away or call it quits for me.
Well, you walked away from a $10 million a year restaurant, Adrianne.
I was making the money that I have never imagined making in my life. Yes. And I walked away from it. Yeah.
Is it fair to say that you walked away from that money and that's money that still you don't make?
Oh, no, I don't. Absolutely. That's the truth.
But that's how strong your belief was.
Yes. But now, the difference is that I can sleep well at night and I can talk face to face with my customers. And I know like I was telling you about the reviews, I can look at them in the face and I know I'm serving you something that I'm so proud of that, I know it costed me $15 to put it on the plate. I could have found it for $5, but I feel good. That's the nurturing side, I guess, of being a chef, that I'm serving you something that's good for your body,
How does someone go from their small footprint with their own talent, someone who believes in his or her talent? I believe in the way I paint. I believe in the way I sing. I believe in the way I cook.
Okay.
And that becomes a local footprint. That becomes the show. I sing at this bar every Friday, or I, sell one painting to a neighbor.
Yeah.
How does that become the type of footprint that you've had in the world with 7 cookbooks, with successful restaurants, with being a top seller in Gold Belly, which means that people from anywhere in the US order your stuff to be able to enjoy it at their homes, and you're a top seller there. Like, how does your local talent become national, and what can somebody learn from you to do the same in whatever it is that they do?
So you have to bleed. You have to ooze your talent, your gift to the world in everything that you do. And it's going to when that happens, it's an exponential effect. So it did start for me very local, very micro, but over time it just multiplied. But you have to continue and just keep going. I keep saying that that's kind of like the 2 words, keep going, and when you build a community, whether it's online, because it started small. Like, for example, I remember I didn't like social media. I used to tell my marketing manager and everything I don't have time for this. Nobody's going to use this. Was I wrong?
Wow.
Yeah. And then, but then I went on Chopped, and all of a sudden I had 50 followers that turned into 5,000. And then when they repeated Chopped, it was 50,000. And this was when Chopped and Food Network was at its like prime.
Yeah, we're talking about the legendary TV show. Like, that's a big deal.
Exactly. And then I went on Beat Bobby Flay, and all of a sudden it was 500,000 people. And so now you're speaking. You take an opportunity. I didn't have to go on Chopped or Beat Bobby Flay or Good Morning America.
Did you beat Bobby Flay?
I didn't. No, I didn't. But these opportunities that if you think you can't go into these shows thinking, oh, I'm going to win. Because their first block, if we're talking TV, in your intro, you're telling your story to an entire world, because Food Network is even shown in Canada and everywhere else. So when you have those 5 minutes where they're introing you, they're seeing your restaurant, they're seeing what you're about, and all of a sudden I'm seeing follow. And I'm like, so now I'm having this platform. And now when you use that platform for better, it just keeps on growing. So now it's messaging, it's the food that I'm making at the restaurant. Now I share moments with my son, all the different milestones. And I would say number one is build community online, in person. But when you do that, you're going to win.
Build community.
Authentic community.
How do you keep your ego in check?
My ego in check? Oh my God, this is a very...
We all have an ego, but
The
you seem to be
restaurant-
very down to earth.
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I love serving people. At the end, I think restaurateurs, chefs, we love serving people, and it's never enough. Like, you have to really love to serve others, to want to wake up and get punched in the face, because that's kind of what being a restaurateur is. You're putting out fires all morning long. You're reading some bad reviews, some good ones, but some, your employees have issues. By the time that you get to cook something for a guest or go out in the dining room and greet them and say, happy anniversary, thank you for, celebrating with us, you've gone through like a million little hurricanes during the day. But I think that serving others is a very humbling experience. And we are very grateful to get to do it another day and then another day. And you just say, thank you, God, for letting me do this.
Adrianne, there's somebody now watching or listening who's going through a very hard time, who can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, who maybe feels the way you felt when you lost your sister, or who maybe feels the way you felt when you realized that they had stolen $150,000 in gift cards from you, or the day you realized that the $10 million deal was over. What could you tell someone going through a very dark time right now that would help that person just take one more step?
Number one, like I say, for me, is faith in God. We can't do this alone. We can't. There's some things that are unsurmountable, unbearable, and you can't carry it alone. And secondly is, believe in yourself, because nothing in this world is permanent, right? So neither good nor bad. So if it's really bad right now, you got to believe that it's going to get better. And then when it's really, really good, be grateful, because it's not going to stay that good forever either. So just hang on and keep going.
Hang on and keep going.
Yeah.
And one last question. There's one last question I love asking our guests, and we're going to imagine for a moment that we're at 100 years from now.
Okay.
We're going to assume that Google still exists.
Okay.
That they managed through ChatGPT and Google's still there. And somebody Googles Chef Adrianne Calvo. What would you like those top search results to say about you?
I would like for the number one thing to come out is always that I'm the culinary ambassador for St. Jude. I always say with them, everywhere else I cook for passion. I'm at my restaurant because I'm passionate about cooking. Everywhere I go around the world, I'm passionate about cooking. But when I'm at St. Jude for the annual holiday feast, I'm cooking for a purpose, So that would be number one. And number two would just be kind of like awesome restaurateur. So if restaurants are still around, but if they are, I hope that I created a blueprint that's not the same textbook thing for restaurateurs. I hope that I broke the mold and I was living proof through and through that you can be successful and you don't have to follow anybody's roadmap to success.
You don't have to follow anyone's roadmap to success. Chef Adrianne, it's been wonderful, and I want to thank you for showing us the power of hard work, the power of imagining a future, of daring to believe in yourself.
Oh.
And for sharing with us a little bit of also the memory of your sister by
you.
teaching us all that we have to make it count.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and congratulations on this beautiful podcast.
Thank you.